Hey, math lovers, let's go over the stats quiz number 9, 3.1 to 3.6, taken February 5th, 2021. Number 1, a study investigated whether U.S. middle school students who eat 4 or more servings of fruit per day are less likely to be overweight. So I'm just going to draw these boxes, I don't know, kind of like creating a flow chart. And are they overweight? Or less likely, less overweight. The study looked at the habits of the students in 100 middle schools across the nation. Which condition could most likely be confounding? Or another word is another confusing variable. Confusing variable. The number of middle school students chosen for the study. So this one's talking about students in 100 middle schools across country. So that's quite a bit, so I think that's fine. The number of students chosen from each middle school. It doesn't tell us how many, but I was thinking about, where these middle schools are picked from. It could be in the city. Maybe they don't have access to parks and playgrounds. Maybe they're out in the country where you got to, do farm chores. The physical activity of level of the students in the sample. That's the correct answer. Why is this one the correct answer? Because we're not sure if, students, are in like sports leagues and they're able to be more active. That's causing the students to be less overweight rather than the fruit. So what is the confounding variable? It is physical activity. Okay, question number 2. What is an observational? Okay, when you think of observational, just think of the person holding some kind of binoculars and you're just watching. Okay, that's my guy with the binoculars. Does it look funny? Oh, because I actually said arms. Oh, that's the arms. Okay, there it is. Okay, which one are they actually just watching? A company divides volunteers into 2 groups to test the popularity of a new version of a vitamin pill. Okay, so this one, the dividing, tells me it looks like more like an experiment. A researcher visits classes and records, so you can sit there and record, that's fine, are given to answer a question. So you're just kind of like watching, bird watching if you think about it. What else do we got? A government agency sends questionnaires. Okay, this one is too active, right? It's kind of like you're chasing the birds and you're bird watching. So you're not really observing. You're actually doing something. You're sending questionnaires out to owners of small businesses in 3 states. And 2D, a company records the time it takes its employees to park their cars and enter the building. Records is just kind of like observing and note-taking, so that one is okay. So your answers are B and D. Let's move on to number 3 here. A doctor conducts a random sample study to collect data on the success rate of a laser treatment of kidney stones at different hospitals. Which of the following would be least likely to result in a random sample? So least likely means, another word is not SRS, not simple random sample. Which one of these is not? Okay, A, selecting every 20th name from a alphabetical list of all the hospital's patients who had the treatment. Okay, that one sounds good, right? This is SRS, but we're looking for not SRS, so not this one. So basically, if you think about it, let me do it another way. Basically, we're saying which one is bias. B, selecting 10 people from each hospital who had successful laser treatments. Well, you're looking already at the success rate. That one does show some kind of bias because you're looking for people who already had, you're only interviewing certain people. So that one looks a little bit, and so I'm like, I'll just write SRS, I'm not sure, not SRS. We might find one that's clearly like, whoa, that's bias. C, assigning a number to each patient who had the treatment at each hospital, and then using a random number generator to pick a selection of these from the study. So random number generator, each person gets one. That's our dare. That looks good. And D, making sure that sample includes a diverse group of patients. Yeah, this one looks okay as well. So this one looks a little bit iffy, just picking the students who had successful laser treatments. What happens if they didn't? Double check. Dr. White. Yeah, B is correct. Okay, let's go on to question number 4. Okay, so you were supposed to match these. And basically, you can just write the word. You were supposed to drag it, but experiment. So if I think of like one word, you are active. Observational, you are do nothing. And a sample survey, I'm thinking you're passive. You just pass out the survey. Pass out, passive, like not being aggressive. Okay, let's take a look at these. In order to research the impact of sleep on athletic performance, a researcher asked 50 subjects to sleep at least 8 hours a night and asked 50 others. So it looks like you started with 100 and you're splitting them up. Are you being active, passive, or do nothing? Well, I think you're being highly active, so I would say that this one is an experiment. Should I write that? Will it help? Experiment. Okay. A biologist studied 6 birds' nests and took notes. Okay, so taking notes is not bad. You're not really doing much. So taking notes, you're not doing anything to the birds on the qualities of each nest, such as the material height, nearby shrubs, and ecosystem. You're not giving out something, like you're not passing on a survey to the birds, you're just watching them. So this would be an observational. That's the blue. Whoops. Observational. Okay. All right, just look at this next one. In order to find the average weight of infants born during 1 year in a hospital, a nurse randomly selected, so you're doing something here, 100 infants and reviewed their files for the weight. Okay, so I would not say that the nurse is just sitting there watching little babies being born. So this is not observational. I'm stuck between experiment and a survey. Okay, in an experiment, you might take the 100 infants and again splitting them up. 50 are going under natural sunlight of the window and 50 are staying underneath the LED fluorescent lights in the hospital. Okay, that would be an experiment. So this one, it doesn't tell us the words, but they're actually sending out a survey. They're sending out a survey to other nurses to look at these babies and just saying, looking for review their files for weight information. So this would be a sample survey. Okay. All right, last one. In order to study the impact of caffeine on blood pressure, a researcher assigned 50 subjects to drink 1 cup of coffee every morning, and 50 subjects, of the 50 subjects, 25 were given decaffeinated coffee without their knowledge. So it seems like of the 50, 25 are given caffeinated and 25 are getting decaffeinated. How cruel of this researcher. Well, they're actively doing something, so what do you think that is? This would be an experiment. So that would be orange. Okay, so 2 were an experiment, 1 was a sample survey, and 1 was observational. And number 5. A high school randomly selected 75 of the 200 seniors at the school to take a sample college entrance exam. The mean grade point average GPA of the senior selected was 2.85. Remember, mean grade is, they're basically saying what's the average of their, that's the average of their GPAs. And the standard deviation of those GPAs was 0.4. Click select or click all. It means there could be multiple ones of all the statements that are true. Okay, something super nice. A margin of error is 2 times the S, and it tells us the S is the standard deviation, and the N is the sample size. Okay, so let's just use what we have. We have 2 times the standard deviation is 0.4, and the N was the 75. Pay attention. They didn't select all 200, just the 75. Okay. So I'm going to put that in my calculator. Let me show you guys. 0.4, 75 times 2. So 0.4 divided by the square root of 75. 0.046 times 2. Remember, if you multiply that by 100, you get a 9.23% margin of error. Okay. So let's go back. So the margin of error for the mean grade point average is B, what we just calculated. Okay, so we know that it's not A. Okay, because basically they're the same margin of error, but just the numbers, and B is correct. C and D say the margin of error would decrease if the sample size were changed to 125 seniors, or the margin of error would increase if the sample size were changed. Okay. Question: do you want a margin of error on your next paycheck? Do you want a margin of error on your GPA, on your college transcripts? No, you want it to be very little. So how do you make your margin of error very little? Well, you would increase the sample size. So if you look at what it's doing, instead of 75, we have 125 seniors. So you're increasing the sample size, but what happens to the margin of error? The margin of error is getting smaller. So your answer is both B and C is your correct answer. Okay, now we have question number 6. Consider the following samples given in the first column. So you kind of have 3 scenarios, 1, 2, 3. And choose whether the samples are biased or not. Got kind of cut off. This one says, yes, it is biased, or no, it's not. Remember, biased means you, not biased means you have a fair chance. This one is not fair. All right. Zeke tasted 7 desserts from each bakery in his county. Each bakery has an equal number of desserts. Okay, so I like that. Zeke went to every bakery, and each of these bakeries have the same number of desserts. I think this is good. This is not biased. This is fair. This sounds more like what? SRS. It's a random sample. Okay. Alan put the names of all the pets at the pound. A pound is a place where they keep pets. Into a hat. Then he drew out 8 names out of the hat. That sounds good. That sounds like an SRS. That sounds fair to me. Tanner surveyed 82 employees at the company who had graduated college. Now, if Tanner just surveyed randomly 82 employees at the company, I think that would be okay, but it doesn't say how he selected them. Were they conveniently next to him? Were they just males or females? But this one says very specifically who graduated from college. So I don't think that's fair, because the group that didn't graduate from college might be under representative or didn't have able to respond. So I think number 6 is biased. That's it for this quiz. See you guys.